The City of Bristol, providing beautiful parks, economic development, and a family-friendly community.
All right, it is 6:46, actually, missed it by a minute, but we are going to call our joint meeting for Tuesday, February 14th, 2023 to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag to my left. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 1 on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes from January 10th, 2023, and the special joint meeting on January 24th, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
Any comments, questions, additions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. 2 is a consent calendar. Does anybody wish to remove anything from the consent calendar? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, transferred $30,000 from the general fund contingency account to council settlement account. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any comments or questions on this one? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Number 4, transfer of $25,000 from the Public Works operating budget.
Move approval.
Second.
Did you get the second, ladies? We're going to give it to Sebastian. Any comments on this one? Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Diane, that was quick, but you're ready. We're on the monthly update from the comptroller.
We're ready, and I'll be quick because someone's following me
Yep.
after this. So I'll be quick. If you looked at the report for January, tax collections actually are coming in okay. Due to timing, there was about a $41 million posting that got in February 1st instead of January 31st. So when you look at the charts that the tax office presented, everything is pretty much status quo and with the trends from the last few years. Just a couple of things. Building permits and conveyance taxes are, building is close to budget, but conveyance is over, as you know. Investment earnings actually are over budget right now, so that's all really good. We did only budget about $250,000 for that, but investment earnings right now, they're at 107% of budget, and interest rates are going up, as you all know. And I think the current rate for STIF was over 4%. So STIF is the State Treasurer's Investment Fund that we invest in. So all of pretty much our liquid funds are in that account. So, and we've been getting, I know the Treasurer's Office has been working really hard to put funds in higher interest-bearing accounts as well. So that's good news there. On the expenditure side, again, just report that we're still watching the commodities and the oil. Right now, we're at 69% of our budget compared to 46% last year. But I am running a report to monitor that every single month. There are some costs that are running a little bit lower than normal, and I'm not going to say it because last time I did, we ended up having a snowstorm, so I'm not going there. Our ARPA funds, I did file that report. So we're all caught up there, and the ARPA committee did meet last night, and I think there's roughly about $2.3 million left of ARPA funds that still have to be allocated. So I know they're looking at what to do with those funds as well. My office is about 80% complete looking at department budgets. We just spent about 3 hours with Public Works today, and I think the other 2 large departments we have left are police and parks, which are next week and the week after. And the first budget meeting with the Board of Finance is February 28th. And at that one, we do a lot of the smaller budgets. It's immediately following the Board of Finance meeting. Just an update on the bond issue. We did settle on an amount. I know I went through a lot of the projections with the CIP committee. I think it was last week or the week before. And went through what the impact would be. We do need to issue some bonds. I settled on $30 million right now that will get us through the majority of this year and get us through City Hall. Our target date for the rating reviews is March 8th, with a sale date of March 22nd. So right now, that's what we're looking at for a bond issue for this spring. I talked fast. Are there any questions?
Any questions here in the room? How about on Zoom? Any questions? All right, hearing none.
So I did ask, as we're getting into the budget, and it is reval, I did ask Tom Denote, the assessor, to give a brief overview of what the grand list looks like with revaluation, and I figured with the being a joint board with the Board of Finance and the City Council here, it was a good opportunity for it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom.
We're just going to try to share a PowerPoint presentation with the Zoom folks. For everybody else in the room, I have some extra copies up here with the city clerk, and all of the board members here have a copy of the presentation in print. Happy St. Valentine's Day to all of you. I'm sure this is what you were looking forward to, talking about revaluation on this day.
Just warms the heart.
It's fine if you scroll through the screens that way. It's being shared? Okay. All right, so, Ian, you can go to the next slide. This is the Bristol 2022 revaluation impact analysis presentation, and a lot of the questions that myself and the staff had taken on is why? Why this year? Peak market. I mean, my goodness. Very difficult time to try to buy a house, but obviously an excellent time to sell a house. Well, it's all written into the state statutes. And I'm not going to go through it line by line, but in red, it basically enumerates the penalties that the city would be exposed to. So Diane was very helpful. You'll see in the second and third bullets the reference points that are in the statute on what we could be subjected to in penalties. So roughly $700,000 in penalties each year leading up to the next revaluation, assuming that we don't implement in each of those 5 years. So that would bring us out to a potential exposure of about $3.5 million in penalties from the state level, directly impacting just the city of Bristol, obviously. 12-62A indicates that with this revaluation, your implementation date and your valuation date is a uniform date as of October 1st. So hopefully what I'm also going to do is take some of the oxygen out of the conversation as to what's happening to the market as we go beyond October 1st, but also remind us of some of the statistics that were occurring last summer, which is a key component of the analysis period of when people were really buying and selling homes. So it's okay to go to the next slide. So here's our 2021 net grand list that was signed January 29th of 2021, listing all the figures for the 3 components to the grand list. We have real estate, personal property, and motor vehicle, and these are all net figures. So these figures are net of any exempt properties. Bristol Hospital, Bristol Health has some taxable properties and some exempt properties. We have exempt organizations, Bristol Boys and Girls Club. We have Girl Scout groups, things of that nature. So this is all net of those properties, including state and federal properties as well. 2022 net grand list as of January 26th of 2023. There's your figures. Net once again. and the individual assessment changes. So obviously, the one that really gives us the left-hand hook in the jaw is 1.3, almost 1.414 billion dollars in $1 billion in growth. I apologize, or 34.61% in that individual category in growth year over year. Personal property, 5.94%, and motor vehicles continue to go up even as some of our inventory supplies at our dealerships start to increase. We're not seeing the impact of the inventory increases translate into those new model cars or some of the updated model cars values coming down. So still about a 6% increase in that component of the grand list. So one of the reasons why last year's market was so hot, what I did was I went into the Connecticut MLS and I went back to February and March of last year to look at properties that were available for sale. And, you know, as you could see, we're in that 150 to 200 properties range, and that's globally across the city. So as far as inventory goes, it's moderate at best. As I drive around the city, it's not as though you're, you know, driving down a particular neighborhood and you see, you know, one for sale sign, let alone two for sale signs. So the pickings are slim, basically. That's what that slide is meant to say. And that essentially is still creating the anticipation and the negotiation to be able to say that asking price is essentially, hopefully, the appraised value of the property if it's appropriately marketed. So here's a depiction of basically the market activity staying steady on the median price point basis. What I would hope to have seen is that, and that's why, and this is one of the depictions that shows you, even as we extend past October 1st and we come to present date, you know, in February of 2023, we're still hovering around the same median values that we had a year ago. And it pretty much shows that our market is stable. It's not as though that with all of the clamorings about mortgage financing rates going through the roof in September, and now all of a sudden the market is going to become overcrowded with listings, and we're going to have properties that are going to be on the market much longer, and now my value is stuck on a 2022 valuation date with the market crashing. Bristol is poised very well based on this graph depiction. And as you can see, we're still hovering in the same place we were last year. And I think that that's also a key indicator of a well-managed municipality. This just gives you a feel for where the activity is actually occurring. And the focal point is that dark blue. It's sales, the number of sales for 2022, and it puts each sale into a silo within property value ranges across the board. So as you can see, all of those blue bars show the strength of the 2022 market. So now let's all put it back into perspective. I was hired as your assessor in 2008. So what this chart is meant to show is the revaluation years were 2007, which I inherited that revaluation, but I have since performed the 2012, the 2017, and the 2022 revaluations with my staff. So I took it in compartments. And what you see is the first bar graph all the way over to the left is the 2006 grand list based on the 2002 revaluation and how values are assembled. Residential, commercial, vacant land, motor vehicles, and personal property, the key components of the grand list. Obviously, you want to take a look at the blue, which is 2/3 of your grand list, and the green, which is the complete net grand list. And you can see that our trend, other than between 2012 and, I take it back, 2007 and 2012 revaluations, that took on the impact of the Great Recession. So the Great Recession, our net grand list went down $514 million. And the property values from that point on, as you can see, along with the grand list growth, steadily increase until we get out to 2022, where we see this influx of property valuation spike. So the performance test is what type of money do we spend when the grand list shifts the way that it does. What you can see is, and I just define it for you because it's not a commonly known term, but the grand levy is the amount of revenue generated from taxable property. So that dark orange color is the change in the mill rate. And between 2006 and 2007, we actually had 39% growth in grand list that year. As you can see in the blue bar, that we did have somewhat of an increase by a few percent in the actual taxable revenue. And you can see how that moderates over time. I did make an assumption, and you'll see it in the next screen on the 2022 analysis, which should also show a mill rate reduction. So I'll start in the upper left-hand corner and read across to the right. Basically, you've got the 2022 grand list comparison to the 2021, and the grand levy in that yellow box I've kept constant, and you'll see below that this is just an assumption that you don't spend any money this year beyond what was collected last year, which is that $156,600,000. Now, continuing to read across, on the basis that the grand list stays at the 5.4 billion net, you could see that the mill rate could change by a negative 9.54 mils. And that would get you to an overall mill rate of 28.81. Now, the only piece to that which is different is last year, the state, and I'm still not certain, I don't know if it'll be funded again this year, but the state mandated a 32.46 mill rate. If that was the case, still based on this growth scenario, that mill rate would be reduced by 3.65 basis points. So to get really micro, to show you where the burden shift is actually taking place, I've taken the real estate categories and I basically divided them up into certain categories, and I'm showing you the 100% appraised value, average and median, the 70% assessment value, average and median, and then what that change looks like between the two grand lists. And if we even still have a zero ask in additional revenue, you can see all those blue components represent increase in taxes. Anything in red bracket indicates a decrease in taxes. So on an average basis, personal property also has an increase, but many of the motor vehicles come down a little bit in taxes. And then the last slide. So the last slide shows you our top 10 taxpayers, and office space, industrial space, our brick and mortar shopping centers, things of that nature. We did have the one industrial property, the 780 James P. Casey Road. That's the Bristol Center, taxpayer number 4. They obviously, industrial space is one of our diamonds in the rough. You could see that, though, a majority of the top 10 taxpayers, based on their property ownership, are seeing a substantial shift in the opposite direction. So that's a high flyover. Does anybody have any questions?
We'll start first here in the room. Anybody have any questions for Tom? Cheryl?
Yes.
Other way up.
Thank you. Thank you for this. I'm on this page, okay, the one
Yeah.
with all the numbers. And I just, just so people can look at their own tax increase, because this is one of the questions, that I have. If I was to take the middle columns, this is the change in assessment value. So let's say single family, okay, the average was 53,067 for the increase. If I take that as a percentage against the 70% assessment number, that'll tell me what the average increase is for the city.
At 100% value.
Right.
Yeah, you'd be converting that assessment basis. Yeah.
Oh, no, I thought that was already, so the middle column is is the actual value or the assessment value increase?
Yeah, in order to carry it out in tax dollars, I had to use the assessment basis.
So I want to divide assessment by assessment to get the average increase percent. So if I do that, which I haven't done, I'm going to be taking 53,067 divided by 187,629, and that will yield me a percent. If I compare my own assessment to that percent, and if all things stay flat, that's roughly my taxes probably won't change.
Your math works.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Because this is what a lot of people want to know. Well, they don't know what the budget is yet. They don't know what the mill rate would be, but based on this, if all things stay flat, they could look at that percentage and then compare it to their own to get an idea. Okay.
Perfectly said.
Thank you.
They won't like
So now I'm going to do that math.
We might have to steal that off of Nutmeg TV and put that out for people. I like that, but
Through the
we'll
chair,
Yeah.
and that assumption, I know you mentioned the funding from the state that we received last year. Is there any information you've gotten or any kind of direction as far as if we would get that funding again?
And while Diane gets up, I just want to make one clarification on that. So the refund from the state was only for the motor vehicle portion of your taxes here. So they capped total motor vehicle mill rate at 32.46. And then what they did is they reimbursed the city for the difference.
Right,
So-
so I will say that right now, there is I think it's a little over $3 million that is in the budget for next year for this revenue. I will say I don't know yet how that will impact the city because it will depend on what the mill rate comes down to. Is it going to be below the 32.46 or not? So right now, the jury's still out on what's going to happen with that $3 million.
Another way to perhaps say it for the average taxpayer out there is we can guarantee now that their mill rate for their car tax is not going to go above 32.46. And quite realistically, it's probably going to come down. So although you may be above that average that Cheryl just talked about, and you may have an increase in your home tax, everybody is going to see likely, again, we don't have all the pieces in place yet, but likely see a reduction in their motor vehicle taxes. Because the burden shift went from motor vehicles and personal property to homes.
Right.
It was very helpful. I keep learning more every time. I appreciate you doing that, Tom. Diane, I don't think you had anything else? Any questions, by the way, on Zoom? I want to not forget about our members on Zoom. No? Not hearing any. I don't think there's any other business to come before us. So I will call us adjourned, and we will start our city council meeting at 7:15. So we will call our city council meeting on Tuesday, February 14th to order, and we will stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. And Hunter is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Yep, no, you can turn right there and start when you're ready. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we'll do an introduction starting on my far right so everybody can.
Hello?
There you go.
Jolene Lusitani.
Cheryl Tebow.
Jeff Caggiano. Right in there, Hunter.
Hunter Heath,
And Hunter, what is your Cub Scout pack?
Pack 432 from Ivy Drive.
Excellent. So for the audience, Hunter and Pack 432 were here, I think, a couple months ago. They all came and we gave them a little award at the beginning of the meeting. And Hunter and the rest of his pack were given the award and they helped us with opening ceremonies. And I think all the rest of the pack left, and there was one individual who stayed for the entire meeting. Got a call from his dad to say that he really enjoys these things and he wants to be part of the next meeting. So Hunter is going to join us for the entirety of the meeting here. If you do get a little tired or whatever, you just let me know, Hunter. But I love that you want to get involved at a young age. Go ahead, Sebastian.
Sebastian Paniotto.
Jacqueline Olson.
Sue Tyler.
Andrew Howe.
Excellent. Very good. All right. I'm actually going to move on to number 2, which is the approval of the meeting minutes of the regular city council meeting, January 10th, 2023, and the special city council meeting minutes from January 24th and February 2nd. I think we can take those all together.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Great. Any comments, questions, additions, or changes on any of those? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Number 3 is public participation. I only have one signed up. Where's Cynthia? She is here. You're up, Cynthia. We do ask that you try to keep this to 3 minutes. I know you have some props and everything too, but state your name and address for the record.
I
too.
will talk extremely fast in 3
No,
minutes.
take your time, but take your time.
Is your mic on?
Cynthia Chesky.
I think I hear.
Okay.
And I'm,
Yeah, if you can speak right into the mic, that'd be great.
I'm hearing impaired, so just,
We hear you well now. You're good.
Okay.
When you're ready.
Okay. Over the past month, I have been cleaning up the trash strewed on the streets and the lawns of Bristol, as well as collecting the discarded nip bottles. To date, I have collected over 4,000 nip bottles just in a small area of Bristol. The trash collected in that time is even more alarming. This is a major issue in the city of Bristol, one that the town is not addressing. The Nickel for Nips program has given the city of Bristol over $31,000 in round 1 and $55,000 in round 2, totaling $86,000, a little bit more, not $42,000. With a projection of over $55,000 in round 3 allocated in April, Bristol will then have received approximately $141,000 to be used for environmental purposes and/or trash cleanup. I expect the money to be used to clean up the plaguing trash nip bottle in town. Bristol wants to revitalize a town with new buildings drawing more businesses and people, but when the town is riddled with nips and garbage, it will continue to perpetuate an image and a reality of a dumpy town with no pride. It's frustrating for me as a business owner who would like to invest in a brick and mortar location, but with the current conditions, I'm sadly looking at other towns that put trash maintenance at a higher priority in Bristol. I was told by Public Works that the streets could not be cleaned twice a year because the water might freeze in the sweeper, but this is just compounds the trash issue in the city. The leaves, nips, and trash that ridden our streets just perpetuates more garbage. A complaint-based system in Bristol is flawed and needs to be readdressed. Many property and business owners feel that it is not their responsibility and are not being held accountable for nips and trash issues. Trash brings nips, and nips bring trash. Complacency breeds complacency. It's a cyclical problem with no current resolution. The nips are being primarily consumed by drivers in our town. This is adding to the fact that Connecticut is the 3rd highest state for alcohol-related deaths. I've spoken to elected officials in 6 towns in Massachusetts that have banned nip bottles, and all have said the primary reasons for nips is to conceal drinking and driving. They have also told me that with the ban has come a significant drop in nips and litter in their streets. These elected officials and concerned citizens spearheaded the effort to ban nips. We as a town can set the precedence by becoming one of the first cities to ban the sale of nips. You are elected officials, but first and foremost are residents of Bristol with a voice. Our voice needs to be heard by the people that represent us at the state level. I am just one person, but look what one person did in 1 month. I'm not stopping at the town level, and neither should our elected officials. Change and action needs to be a priority. I expect the town to use allotted monies to work on the cleanup efforts because that is what it is intended for. I will continue the best of my ability to do my part to clean up Bristol. I will also be reaching out to all of you to meet more in depth on a one-on-one basis. I am leaving these nips here for you guys to dispose of and as a reminder of the serious problem we are facing in Bristol. Let Bristol live up to the motto given that we are the heart city, and it does matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Just a couple of comments, because I just want to set expectations for all. This is not on our agenda for this evening, but it is on the agenda for our Public Works meeting. This is a municipal solid waste issue that all 169 towns are dealing with. And although I don't really appreciate you leaving this for us to clean up here, it is a good opportunity for me to do a public service announcement to say that nip bottles, unfortunately at this time, are not recyclable. And I do think that many people, by the way, I was running today, it was very windy, in our neighborhood we had the recycling. I had lots of garbage cans or recycling cans tipped over. I see lots of nip bottles in those recycling cans. Unfortunately, they need to be put in regular municipal solid waste. So we do have an issue that we are ready to tackle. It's a very difficult issue. It is through our Public Works, which we will have a meeting this coming Thursday at City Hall West. I know that we saw you last Sunday with a group of concerned people. I do think that the concern is significant and that there are many people that do want to help with this. I think it's going to take some volunteer support as well. I really applaud you for keeping the city clean, and thank you, and we'll continue to move this forward.
I do have letters from other people that couldn't attend, and I have copies.
You're welcome to give those to me, and we'll put them on the record. So I'll make sure that everybody gets these on the council. I do not have anybody else signed up for public participation here in the Board of Ed. Anybody online wish to speak on Zoom? All right, not hearing any. We'll move on in our agenda. Number 4 is announcements. I'm going to start on my right with you, Jolene.
Yep, just a couple from the Board of Education. During the week of March 6th through 10th, children who will be reassigned to new schools will be able to meet their new principal and staff during a get-to-know-you assembly. The week of March 12th through the 17th, all students will be reassigned, will have the opportunity to visit their new school in a field trip visit. An open house for elementary school parents and guardians will be held on March 21st at 6 p.m. Those orientations for K through 8 and middle school students are planned for March 28th, and all the orientations will be held at the individual schools. That's it.
Thank you, Jolene. Cheryl?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Real brief, as we discussed in the joint board, the budget hearing calendar has been created and is available. And what these meetings are is an opportunity for the Board of Finance to meet with department heads and go over their projected budgets for the next year. Everybody is welcome to attend these hearings, these meetings, council members, citizens, anybody. They will be available on Zoom as well. The dates are posted on the comptroller's page under the 2023-24 budget. I've also posted those on my Facebook page. And this will culminate with a budget workshop on April 3rd. The Board of Finance will adopt the budget on April 25th. And then Joint Board, which is the combined council and Board of Finance, will adopt a budget on May 15th. One other thing I'd like to share, just because I know people like to fill up their summer calendars early, is please decide to stay in Bristol the weekend of June 10th and 11th, because on that Saturday, not only is it going to be the open house for our local museums, but we're going to do our Cultural District Day. And the City Arts Council Committee, I said that wrong, but I'm looking at Dr. Medeiros over there. We're planning something really big so that people can come out and enjoy the culture of Bristol and share with their community members. And so you're going to want to stay in Bristol that weekend. So put it on your calendars now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Sebastian, you have any announcements?
Do you have any announcements?
Oh, yeah. Hunter, do you have anything? He's good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there's a couple events happening on February 28th. The Parks Department will be holding up a public engagement workshop for the design and renovation of Kern Park. And that's Tuesday, February 28th at 6 p.m. Ivy Drive School in the cafeteria. So you can hear some preliminary plans on the improvements to the park, and also share your ideas and your vision of the park with the Parks Department. That same day, the Diversity Council will hold the second installment of our panel series of speakers with a Black History Month panel discussion at 6:30 p.m. at the Public Library in Meeting Room 2. Scheduled panelists for that evening are Tim Camerell, Derek Jones, Alexandra Thomas, and Lene Lewis. And in addition, the library and the Friends of the Public Library will have their used book sale from Thursday, March 2nd to Saturday, March 4th, 9 a.m. all days. There's also a preview sale Wednesday, March 1st, 3 to 7 p.m. with a $5 admission. All the rest of the book sale is free admission, and that's at the main library on High Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian. Jackie?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple. The Greater Bristol NAACP is sponsoring a Black History Celebration on February 18th at 6 p.m. at the Bridge Community Church, which is on 43 School Street. The Bristol Public Library has received a grant to be a hub for visually impaired and individuals with physical disabilities, and I'll speak more about that when we get to the committee reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan?
Yes, thank you. Just a couple of quick, these are a little bit down the road. The Bristol Exchange Club Honoring Heroes event will be June 29th at 6 p.m., and that will be held at the AquaTurf this year. Tickets and the ability to take out ads in the book are now available online, and you can find all that information at the Bristol Exchange Club at gmail.com. Also, next month, again, is the Shamrock Run and Walk. This is the 20th annual event, and it is back at Chippens Hill, where it had been for many years until the pandemic hit. And you can also get information on that. And one more thing is our Community Emergency Response Team is holding February All Heart Food Drive. And they have bins at various locations. I saw one at City Hall today. I saw one over at Family Roots, the produce market on Riverside Avenue when I was there the other day. All you have to do is go on to Bristol Community Emergency Response Team Facebook page or the Bristol All Heart page, and you can find out where the different collections are. But that will be running through to the end of February, and that is a food drive for our own community. That's all.
Thank you. Andrew, what announcements do you have?
Just a couple. Connecticut celebrates Patriots Day on April 17th. And a young lady, actually the youngest member of a board for the Veteran Strong Community Center, has put on, this is her 4th year putting on Patriots Day. She has a ceremony on April 17th at 6 p.m. at the Man Ross Public Library. Myself and a few of the other elected officials were there last year, and she put on a great show, and she's doing it again. Nomination letters are being accepted to help with the selection of this year's Patriots Day honorees. Consider nominating a local veteran serviceman. They can be alive or deceased. They're just asking for you to send your correspondence back. I will not read it out loud, but I will have, hopefully I can have all the council persons put it on their page, so we can spread that out for Maggie. Next, I have from the Parks Department, I don't know if Dr. Joss is still there or not. Tomorrow, Stocks Playground ribbon cutting and grand opening celebration is happening at 4:30 to 5 while they cut the ribbon. And Mayor Caggiano, some more city officials and the Park Board Commissioners are very excited to finally see this project come to fruition. One more. We have the 2nd annual Dinner on the Diamond fundraiser coming up. Last year it was in a piping hot, and it was incredibly coming, the heat bouncing off the dirt and everything. So the Parks Board has come up with May 13th for the second annual dinner. It'll be a little bit cooler out. Tickets go on sale yesterday, and all the proceeds benefit the Friends of the Bristol Parks and Rec. And then coming up in the near future, Earth Day, we have paired with the Environmental Learning Center for the grand opening of the Pigeon Hill Preserve in conjunction with the community cleanup event that we held every year. There'll be more info to come when we figure out putting both of the locations together. That's it for me.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm going to dovetail on just one of the things you said, the May 13th. The way we're going, we might have snow on May 13th, but it is going to be a beautiful day. The Dinner on the Diamond was a lot of fun last year, and I think we're also looking for sponsors, not just people to attend that event. So if you're interested, you can reach out to Dr. Medeiros, myself, or any other Park Board commissioner. My last announcement for me is, it's the only one I really have, is I want to remind people about the Taste of Bristol. The cards that are for sale in multiple locations through the West End Association. This is a $5 investment that you make your money back on your first visit to one of our local restaurants. In case you all haven't heard, we're really trying to get some great new restaurants in town. But I also think it's a great opportunity to talk about the fact that we have a lot of great current restaurants, and we hope that some of them might expand in the future in the downtown area. But we need to support them now, and we will need to support all of these new restaurants that I'm very hopeful to see in the near future. So it's $5. You can get them at the mayor's office and a whole list of other places. We'll post that on our mayor's page again. But anybody that's associated with the West End Festival is selling them as well. That's all the announcements I have. Did we forget anybody? Any other announcements? No. We will move to our consent calendar. It is A through H. Does anybody wish to withdraw anything from the consent calendar? And while you're thinking about that, didn't make this announcement in the joint meeting, these consent calendars and all of the joint board stuff, this is stuff for those out in the audience and for you, Hunter, that has been vetted by many subcommittees before this, so it's just kind of regular run-of-the-mill business. Nobody wants to withdraw anything. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We move on to number 6, which is reports and committee reports. We're going to start with 6A, which is Salary Committee. So that is you, Cheryl, to start.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the packet that had been presented was the personnel policies and procedures. And the Salary Committee, along with staff, had gone through these to make some minor, corrections, mostly updating terms and so forth. So it was basically grammar cleanup and alignment cleanup. There was anything else we had adopted prior was also incorporated in this. So there's nothing substantive in this that anybody should be concerned about. So I'd like to put forward a motion to accept the proposed changes to the personnel policies and procedures, please.
Second.
Any other comments or questions for Cheryl? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Cheryl, do you have any other committee reports? We'll stick with you.
No, but we'd love to have you at the Public Works meeting. Those meetings only go 3 to 4 hours, so,
This one's going to be a little longer. Ray, I have to give him credit, is doing work already, removing those nips in front of us, so thank you, Ray.
But you're always welcome to come, and anybody's welcome to come. That meeting is Thursday at 6 o'clock in City Hall West, Room 1.
Thank you. All right, next is B, which is Ordinance Committee, and we have a couple for Ordinance Committee, so I'll turn it over to you, Sue.
Okay, the first one up is we're spending a lot of time in ordinance and going through some of our ordinances that are outdated, a little antiquated, and we're bringing them up to code. The one that we just had a public hearing on this past ordinance meeting was the change of fees for our peddler permit applications. So I have a motion. I hereby move that Section 17-34, Fees of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Bristol, Connecticut, is hereby amended to read as follows. I hereby move that the city clerk publish said amendments and additions to the Code of Ordinances and that they become effective upon the expiration of 14 days from the date of their publication in a newspaper of general circulation in the city of Bristol. Additions are underlined and deletions are bracketed.
Second.
Any questions on this one? Comments? Any further comments from you, Sue? I think it's pretty straightforward.
This was brought to our attention by the police department that state statute restricted the fee that we could charge for a peddler permit at a certain amount, and our ordinance had it higher.
Gotcha. So we had to reduce that. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Next one, Sue?
Okay.
This is 6B.
Okay, I'm sorry, hold on, I just clicked on the same one again. Okay. Okay, so this is some language in, again, our peddler permit chapter, which addressed farmers markets. And basically, the language was such that, we just don't follow it anymore. It was from many, many years ago. It actually said that to sell your products at a Bristol farmers market, you had to be a Bristol farm. So we have changed it, and I have a motion here for, let me start with the motion to waive the reading. In accordance with Section 21F of the Charter of the City of Bristol, I hereby move that the reading of the proposed amendments to the Code of Ordinances be introduced this date pertaining to Section 2-12.2 be waived.
I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so now I hereby move that the time and place of Tuesday, March 7th, 2023, at 4:40 p.m. in Meeting Room 1, 131 North Main Street, Bristol, Connecticut, be set for the holding of a public hearing thereon by the Ordinance Committee, and the city clerk publish said public hearing and proposed amendments to the Code of Ordinances as required by the city charter.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. And then Sue, I don't think you have any other from ordinance, right? But do you have any other committee reports that you'd like to share with us?
Not at this time.
No?
Mayor, there is another one in that.
Oh, yeah.
A shopping
Shopping carts. C. Do you have that one?
That
Sue?
was C. I just did
She
C.
just read C.
See what's
I might have
starting.
said B when I gave it to her. So we have B, which is the
Shopping carts is-
17.
I did B and I did C.
Which one are we missing, Marina? Help me.
No.
Oh, we just set a public hearing, and it was not for the farmer's market.
It was for the shopping.
It was for the shopping carts.
But I think she
Do we
read
need
the
to-
motion correctly, so just a misstatement on what it was.
Are we
good with
still
that,
all set
ladies?
with that, though?
Yep. So I think we're good on that. Thanks for the
Okay.
catch. Appreciate it. So,
Thank
yeah,
you.
Just misspoke on what the public hearing was for. So this is shopping carts, but we still have a public hearing on it, so we're not taking any action. I think we're good. All right. And no other committee reports, you said. Jackie, do you have any committee reports?
I do, I have a couple. As of December 2022, the Bristol Senior Center has 4,920 members, which is awesome. The work at the Magnet School is winding down. They have their final CO. The balance of the theater seating has been installed. There's a new case for the theater clock that was to be installed last month. There's still a few items still to be completed, such as there's some additional signage at various locations, draperies in the theater, additional lockers in the academic wing, and there's a wardrobe cabinet that was missed in production, and that will be installed this month. The amount spent to date is $60,157,192. The amount received from the state is $19,235,463. Last thing I have is the Commission for Persons with Disabilities has been having some very interesting meetings of late. They've been attended by several residents from our deaf community. And as I mentioned before, the library has become a hub for the visually impaired and individuals with impairments. And for example, they're now offering what they call a talking book player. And if any of you remember the old cassette players, that's what it looks like. It's pretty large, but it has different color buttons on it, and it has Braille for those that are blind. And this is all free to them, even postage, the mailing to and from these. They're kind of like a disc that goes into the player. So it's all free. And like I said, the postage is free. And they also now have books that are in Braille that are available for both fiction and nonfiction. There's over 40 audiobooks that are available. And if you have not attended one of these meetings, I strongly recommend that you at least come to one. And they're on the second Wednesday of each month at 7 p.m. at the library. They're very interesting. That's it.
Thank you. And I'd just like to make a further comment about the Bames Theater, Rockwell Theater. I went to one of the first shows with a couple other people. The Lion King by the middle school was great. And just want to make sure, this is another kind of public service announcement, that for those that are looking at using the theater for community use, that's going to go through the Board of Education. And I'm very happy to kind of softly announce that dates are being prepared, and Dr. Medeiros, through the Parks and Rec and our Arts and Culture Commission, will be working on more what we'll call commercial or community-type events that are done by Parks and Rec and or other outside acts that are coming in. So this is a true gem of a theater. It's beautiful, unbelievable place for people to be, and we're going to try to make sure that the community gets in there quite a bit over the next couple of months to see it. So even if it's the school plays and productions, I highly recommend that people take advantage of it. I think they sold 300 or 400 tickets for the couple of shows on Friday and Saturday last week. So very happy to see that moving forward, and thanks to Josh for working very hard on that. Sebastian, any reports for us? None?
Thank you.
Cheryl?
We already.
You did so you didn't have anything else? Jolene?
No, not this time.
And finally, Andrew, and we will come back to Sue at the end.
One quick one. I probably could have put this under announcements since we're floating on Dr. Medeiros. They had their Letters of Love program. They received 350 Valentines that were distributed to Bristol's nursing homes and assisted living care facilities. The cards were sent from Bristol schools, from the troops, clubs, families, local organizations, and the community. So it was a really successful event for the Parks Department. Kudos to Dr. Josh. And then last is the School Readiness Council. It's that time for kindergarten. Any child who will be 5 years old on or before January 1st, 2024 is eligible. You can find all your forms needed on the Bristol Public Schools website, and I encourage you to register early. Bristol Works is a collaborative workforce training center opening soon with funding from the ARPA. One of the 4 pathways is early childhood, where residents can earn a Child Development Association credential for free. The other pathways are healthcare, information technology, and manufacturing. Go to the website, bristolworksct.org, for more info and to register. That's it for me, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any other committee reports or anything else? Oh, we went back to Sue, that's right. Third time's the charm.
It was the shopping carts that got me. So just a quick report, Mayor, on code enforcement. So basically, code enforcement is really making tremendous progress and getting a lot done. This past code enforcement meeting, which was held on February 8th, had 31 properties on its agenda. And of those 31 properties, I think about 4 or 5 of them came off, which means compliance, which means people did what they were supposed to do. And the other ones I don't think are too far behind. This past month, talking about shopping carts, Since our ordinance meeting at the beginning of January, Lindsay Rivers, through Public Works, she wrote $6,120 worth of tickets for these shopping carts that are left all over the city and not collected when they're supposed to be. So we don't know, how much of that's going to be collected, but she wrote over $6,100 worth of tickets. Also, in January, we had 5,700. This is putting aside, some of her shopping carts are in this figure, but the majority of them are not. $5,727 worth of citations were written. So far in January, $324 was collected. But we also, in January, collected another 3,500 plus, and those were from tickets issued previous to January. So people are answering their citations. Some of them are appealing, some of them are paying, but the main important part here is that we are getting compliance. Also, we have our first report that came to us through code enforcement, and this is just going to give a general overview. In January, we had 23 complaints come into code enforcement. We had 22 of those were nuisance type complaints, 6 group inspections, and that's where you have building, fire department, police department, public health, everyone go out as a team. We had 6 group inspections, 2 properties were condemned, and 2 properties had hoarding circumstances. And like I said, a lot of progress has been made, and we are seeing great results out of this.
Thank you very much. I would agree. And just a quick reminder for those in the audience, this is a complaint-driven system. So if you do notice things that are in violation, from tall grass to potential health code violations, things of that sort, you can call the building department or Bristol Burlington Health Department. Thanks, Sue. All right. I think we are done with that one. We will move on to number 7, which is old business. So I'm actually going to kick this off to Steve Sharpman, right? Sorry, say it again? Staffstrom. I apologize for the mispronunciation.
No worries,
but this
Mr.
is a carryover item from our last council meeting, and it is to look to approve the TrueLeave hybrid license. As you all remember, at our last meeting, they had moved their location, and we had approved the medical dispensary, and we're on to the next step. So you're going to do a quick presentation for us. We can then entertain the motion and have questions, but I wanted to have them do a presentation first for us.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Council, for allowing us to present today. I don't envy you going through a reval. I actually served on a local city council in my own right down in Bridgeport several years ago, and reval is never tough, so I'm glad to be here presenting on this instead of reval today. I'm here to present and ask for your approval of a site location for TrueLeave to expand its existing medical cannabis retail establishment to adult use sales on the location at 820 Farmington Avenue. Certainly TrueLeave looks forward to continuing to partner with the City of Bristol in bringing additional jobs, economic opportunity, and tax growth to the city. Mr. Mayor, if I could, I prepared, I know there was a bunch of documents that were submitted. I did print some out, and there's actually a couple additional documents I'd like to submit. So with your approval, I'll hand them
I'll
up.
pass them out for you. Keep an extra one there, too. Just, you can give that to Andrea.
So members of the council, pursuant to your ordinance requirements, there are 3 things that the city of Bristol requires of TrueLeave to show in order to be granted a site location. The first is they need to have a valid lease or ownership interest in the property they are seeking to open in. And so if you turn to section 1 of your binder, you will see the formal request from Trulieve to the city through the mayor, and behind that is the lease for the location at 820 Farmington Avenue. The second thing Trulieve is required to present to you is the town planner's sign-off or approval, which you will find at tab 2 of the packet I handed up to you. And the third thing that Trulieve needs to present to you is their state approval. And so if you turn to section 3, you will find 3 documents. The first document is a letter to you from the Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection's Drug Control Division, indicating that they are authorizing Trulieve to sell adult use cannabis at the location as long as they receive your approval and the approval of the Social Equity Council. The second document you will see is an email. If you turn to the second page of that document, you'll see an email from Kamla Matrivi, who is the staff attorney for the Office of the Social Equity Council, who has said that no further action is required to be taken by the council, and that the social equity employment plan has been accepted by that office. And the third thing you will see is a printout from the state's e-license website that shows the application from medical marijuana dispensary facility, which is the current license Trulieve did have, to a conversion to retail sales being approved by the state. In addition to the 3 ordinance requirements, I would also just like to note that pursuant to state statute, Trulieve has a obligation to work with the town on providing for traffic management during the initial days of its opening. We've had very productive conversations with the police department, and Trulieve has agreed to pay 2 off-duty Bristol police officers for at least the first week that is open for the full operational hours. That's from the time the store opens to the time the store closes, to deal with traffic control. If an officer or more than one officer are needed after that first week, Trulieve is willing to abide by that, and will be in constant conversations with the police department on that as this moves forward. With that, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to take any questions you or the council may have.
I prefer, actually, let's do the motion, and we can read that motion from each of us, and then we'll have questions on the roll around.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to approve Trulieve's hybrid license for the retail sales of medical marijuana to registered patients and caregivers, and to sell adult use cannabis to consumers 21 years of age or older.
And can I have a second? All right, so questions for Steve, or any other questions that people may have?
To the
Jackie.
chair. I believe I saw something on a news article recently that there's issues with the growers and supply. Is that the case? And I guess someone who has a medical issue was having problems getting what they needed?
Yeah. So I'm actually, Mr. Mayor, with your approval, I'm actually going to turn that over to Amanda, who's with me, who is actually the retail manager at the store here in Bristol, and she's probably better equipped to answer that than I am.
Yep,
as
Amanda,
the
if
person
you'd
on the
like
ground.
to, that's fine.
So I've actually gone back and forth with drug control about the issue because, to be honest, they gave people 30 days. They gave the growers 30 days to get everything packaged, everything going, so it just wasn't enough time. Now we're starting to see it change. So now it's picking back up, the growers are catching back up, so they just weren't given enough time in that 30 days to get everything packaged for adult use. With the adult use sales, everyone is limited to only 7 grams. Super easy, very, very small amount compared to what is on the medical side. Speaking to that article, the patient speaking actually did receive all of her medication, so it was a little ironic that that happened to be the patient in the article, because she received all 110 monthly, product that she gets. So right now, we are definitely working with drug control with the supply issue, but moving forward, there's not going to be an issue.
Thank you.
We've got plenty of product and stuff.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any questions specifically, though, that maybe Steve could answer on the application process, which is before us? And we can get into other questions after that, but I want to stay focused on that first while we have him here.
Yes, thank you. I know this isn't, you've got approval from the SEC, but could you just take a minute and share with us what your workforce plan was and what you're looking to do for the community? I take it that this is a hiring initiative?
Sure. So it's a hiring initiative. It sets forth, per the statute, certain requirements in terms of folks working in there. What the changes to the plan were actually to reset the timeline for that to begin with the new location. So actually start the timeline. It's a 5-year timeline, and so instead of sort of accounting in 2022, actually it'll start now in 2023. There is also a budget that has been approved by the SEC, and the other basic requirements of this are training and working with the partner employees.
So are there opportunities for employment for local citizens?
Yeah.
And
So I think there are, and actually I think Amanda could probably give the breakdown of how many folks are currently working there, and where from the community they come from.
So actually, quite a few of my employees are from Bristol, but we are actively hiring 10 to 12 new employees, with possibly even adding a couple more, depending. We actually have to see the rollout of the adult use sales. If we need more, we're going to hire more. But the plan is 10 right away.
okay, thank you.
You got it.
Andrew, I'll give you a chance. Any questions from you or comments? No? All right, any other questions or comments in the
Through
room?
the chair, I do
Yep,
have one
Sebastian, go ahead.
question. So the social equity employment plan has been approved by the SEC or by the Social Equity Council, you said?
That's correct.
Is that noted in the paperwork you just gave us?
That is, if you turn to tab 3, it is the second document. If you look to the second page of that email, it would not be online because I don't think it was submitted. It won't be in your packet online because it was just received within the last 10 days or so. So that's why it's
Dated
printed out in your
January
packet.
31st in the package, I believe.
Yep.
You said which page is that? I'm sorry, section
So if
3?
you turn to tab 3 of your packet,
Right.
the first thing you'll see is a letter from the Department of Consumer Protection. If you look past the blue sheet, you'll see an email. It's got my name on the top of it. And if you turn to the second page of the email, you'll see an email from the attorney with the Social Equity Council.
Is that Kamla Matrevi?
Yes, sir.
So where in this email is the plan, does it state the plan has been accepted or approved?
Where they say they've determined that it's substantially similar to the plan approved by the council for the other location. All that has changed is the new location as well as the restarting of the clock for 2023. And the office takes notice of your relocation, will update its records. No further action will be taken by the council on the plan.
So the email essentially states that the plan is similar to another plan approved for another location.
Right.
But it doesn't approve this location.
Well, it does because
So the state actually, so we submitted an application when we were currently at the East Main Street location, and then drug control made us resubmit all the information again once we moved. So they had already gone through the approval process at 159. So then when we moved, they said, well, we're going to have to reevaluate if we need to vote on it again. And then the committee said, okay, it's similar to the one we already voted on, and we already approved it, so no further action is needed, it's approved, essentially is what that.
Okay.
So what they're saying, what the Social Equity Council is saying is, since we already approved your location, your plan for the previous location, now that you've moved to the new location and you really haven't updated the plan other than to change the address and restart the timeline, we don't need to go through the entire SEC approval process again. We're noting your relocation. we don't need to take any further action. And then if you turn to the last page of Exhibit C, or Exhibit 3, you'll see the license status where it shows Workforce Development Plan approved by SEC approved, and that's on the online e-portal. If folks are familiar with state licensing these days, everything is pretty much moved to an online process through Department of Consumer Protection. So we provided the printout showing the approval that way.
Okay, because I know, the social equity aspect of this has been a sticking point with the state, and it's become kind of an issue and it's a concern of mine because we don't have the written approval or explicitly that they approve this location. But I think it sets a dangerous precedent to partner with a business who has to put forth a social equity plan to operate in our state and in Bristol. Because I think the state essentially will expand the initiative and try potentially to require more businesses to come up with a social equity plan to try and right whatever wrongs they may deem. And they'll know which cities and towns will have allowed businesses that are to require social equity plan. And it's a subjective initiative. I think if this is the first draft or the 10th or the 20th, it's not going to be enough for a certain subset of state lawmakers. They're going to want you to go back to the drawing board and do more. It's not going to be enough, and they're going to keep on moving the goalposts, and they're going to do it 1,000 times to the point where you might question doing business in Connecticut and in Bristol. So I don't want to grant credibility to a social equity council or a social equity approval process. That's why one of the many reasons why I'm still against this. And I don't want Bristol and I don't want this governing body to give any kind of status to a social equity council here.
I guess I would only say that certainly this is not a requirement that's unique to Bristol. This is a state requirement for any cannabis facility opening anywhere in the state of Connecticut. We're just showing our compliance with the regulations pursuant to your ordinance.
And for the record, I will state that our ordinances did not contemplate social equity partnerships, and there may be other, because we've allowed up to 2 hybrid, there may be others that come forward to us that don't have social equity partners. The only reason I think that this is being talked about through here is that in the approval letter dated 1/24 from DCP, they did mention the approval of the Connecticut Social Equity Council change. And the new piece of information too, which I appreciate that you did give us at the very end, is the table to show that Social Equity Council Workforce Development Plan was approved. So we're kind of in an interesting situation here in Bristol. But
to your point, Mayor, right. The reason we're presenting this to you is because per your ordinance, one of the things TrueLeave needs to demonstrate is that it's received all of its state licenses. One of the state licenses it needed to receive was sign off from the Social Equity Council, and that's why we bring it to your attention.
Yep. Thank you. What other questions do we have or comments? Sue?
Very interesting point, Sebastian. I do want to thank you for this. This is very nicely put together, and it kind of helps a very confusing process be a little bit clearer. Right from the beginning, everybody knows that I am not for this, but we did have a 4-3 vote, and we have an ordinance. I think also we have to tweak our process through our ordinance, because in there, I believe it's number 3, it says that a cannabis establishment has to show their valid provisional or permanent license. There is no such thing as a provisional license when it comes to cannabis licensing. So I think that was something that I was getting a little bit hung up on. I was expecting DCP to give us a provisional license, like, here you go, here's documentation that we've approved everything, we just need city council approval now. There's a catch-22 because they won't give a license until they get our approval. We won't give our approval until we have proof that they have their license. So it's a little bit of a cluster, and kind of hurts my brain a little bit. I don't like these emails because it kind of does leave you wondering if if everything's been checked off. But I did call Department of Consumer Protection licensing unit today, and I did verify that they have gone ahead and done everything and signed off on everything that needs to be done. And the only thing that is left hanging is for our city council approval. So.
And maybe I should just read this for the record, because a lot of us have read this and looked at it and have it in front of us. But on the letter dated 1/24/2023 from the Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection to the City of Bristol City Council, True Leaf, located at 820 Farmington Avenue in Bristol, having successfully completed the application and inspection for the conversion of their medical marijuana dispensary to a hybrid retailer, is hereby authorized to sell medical marijuana to registered patients and caregivers and to sell adult use cannabis to consumers 21 years of age and older, contingent upon Bristol City Council approval and Connecticut Social Equity Council. And then it was signed by them. So that is the approval. It may not fit exactly what we thought we were going to get, and I think the debate that we've had and the good questions that we had of Steve around the Social Equity Council is not something that we really contemplated in our ordinance, but I think they've demonstrated their approval. And the newest thing that wasn't necessarily in our packet, I don't think, right, was this last page where you take the license status at the end, and they're all checked. So conversion to retail sales with fee approved, labor force attestation, detailed, blah, blah, blah. And I can go through it. You can all read it, but it's there. So do we have any other specific questions for Steve? Any other comments? I think we're ready for a vote. I'll do a voice vote at first here, but we'll see how it goes. All those in favor?
Aye.
I have a comment. Aye.
There's no public participation, I'm sorry. That was earlier on. We're in a debated item, so our rules do not allow for comments. Thank you. All right, we're going to do a roll call vote too, because that got confusing. If you don't mind reading the roll for us, Marina or Erica, whoever.
Lusitani?
Yes.
Tebow?
Yes.
Paniotto?
No.
Olson?
No.
Tyler?
No.
Howe?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes. Believe that's a 4-3 in favor. Motion carries. Thank you all. Appreciate you coming out tonight. One last quick question. When will we see the conversion? Do you have a plan for that? Because I want to make sure that we have Chief Gould here too, to make sure that they know when officers can be ready.
We do. I believe the first thing we need is, and we can follow up by email, Mayor, but I believe there's actually a Survey Monkey link that the city needs to submit to the state, letting them know that we received approval tonight.
Okay.
And then I believe from there, our next step will be to talk to the chief about making sure we have officers lined up, and I think the tentative plan is Friday.
Friday this week, okay.
So DCP just needs that.
A little closer to the microphone so they can hear.
DCP just needs the Survey Monkey, and then they told me it takes 1 to 2 days to convert our license.
Okay. You can
And then once we have that conversion, then we're good to go.
send that directly to me if you would. That'd be great.
I'll be on it right now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to number 8, and I know we do have one new business item. Sebastian, I think you carry that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have a request through the library regarding a foundation grant, the Dollar General Literacy Foundation grant, and they would like to apply for a grant of $3,000. This is a annual grant supporting local library activities to encourage reading, events and performances focused on reading and improving literacy for 2,000 youth up to 12 years of age. The city would like to apply for $3,000 pending council approval. No city match is required. So I have a motion here to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to execute any and all documents associated with the application for a grant from Dollar General Literacy Foundation and to refer the matter to the Board of Finance for any necessary action.
Second.
I do apologize for this late one. It's a small grant, but thank you to Dawn Ledger for getting this to us so that we can stay on time with these. I don't think there's any questions. Pretty straightforward. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Any other new business? Hearing none, we will go on to number 9, resignations. Do we have any resignations? Great. If you can do those for us, that will be great. And if you can talk right into the microphone, Erica, that'd be great.
Okay. Ramiro Suarez is resigning from the Board of Water and Sewer. Renardo Ortiz Jr. is resigning from the Diversity Council. And Lauren Kittle has resigned from the School Readiness Committee.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to accept the resignations and have a letter of thank you sent to each participant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to appointments. I think in our 15 months, this will be my shortest list, so that's good. But I think next month we have quite a few to work on, everybody. So first, Public Works Board, I want to entertain a motion to reappoint Frank Stosky to a term that expires on 2/26.
Move approval.
Second.
Yeah, Frank is awesome. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We have 2 department head appointments. We can take them together. The first is to reappoint Dr. Joshua Medeiros as Superintendent of Parks, Rec, Youth, Community Services to a term that expires on 2/27, and then to reappoint Raymond Rogozinski as Public Works Director through 2/27.
Move approval?
Second.
And both are here tonight doing a great job. Thank you both. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Very good. All right, last one is really just an announcement. Although not required by charter, it has been suggested, and I talked to corporate counsel, that we, and I talked to Dr. Medeiros and Steve Bynum on this, that since we are establishing a fair rent commission and we don't currently have a fair housing officer, we are going to temporarily appoint Steve Bynum, who has agreed to be a fair housing officer in the town, because we're getting more requests on what do we do about rent and housing. And we are hoping, it's going through ordinance now, well, we're not hoping, it has to be done before July, and I'm hoping that it's done well before July, that we will have a fair rent commission coming forward that'll have to go through ordinance and city council. So just an announcement for those out there, and thank you to Steve. You can pass that along for me, Josh, for taking any complaints that will come in the meantime. That's all I have for appointments. I will make a plea as well, too, for those listening and watching. We still need to have people come forward. We have resignations every month, and we definitely encourage people to get involved in their local government. So if you have any interest, please send the mayor's office a resume and what your interest might be. Number 11. So we need to approve the change orders for D'Amato Downs, the joint venture, in the amount of $19,475.56 as recommended by the MBIS Magnet School Committee, and to take any next actions as necessary. Oh, sorry. Oh, wait a second. Yes, I did. That's a point. I should have done that. 19,000. We did this earlier, too, when we were listening to Jackie. So 19,475.56.
There you go.
We need a motion.
So moved.
Jackie got the motion.
I'll second
We'll give you the
that.
second. With that amount, we shouldn't have too much discussion, but is there any discussion? 19 million would have been a big discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. And then we'll do number 12, and I can have somebody else read that so I don't get the numbers wrong.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to award contract 2C23-047 CDBG program Federal and West Street sidewalk improvements to Martin Lavero Contractor Incorporated in the amount of $69,520, and to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to execute any and all documents necessary to effect said contract.
Second.
Any comments or questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? I'll ask somebody else to do 13. or whoever's ready.
Fine.
Go ahead, Sue.
To award contract 2P23-046 Engineering Staff Recruitment Services to Shepherd Search Group, Inc. in the amount not exceeding $33,375, and to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to execute any and all documents necessary to effect said contract.
And a second?
Second.
Just a quick comment from me on this one. This is an innovative option. We are really struggling. There's a huge shortage of engineers throughout the state, and so we have a shortage in our own city. We have many projects that are coming forward, and we certainly don't want to delay those or cause any backlogs within City Hall. So this is something that we're going to try. If you know any engineers, please tell them about our job openings. So any comments or questions on this one?
Civil engineers, right?
Civil engineers,
Civil
yes.
engineers.
That's a good clarification. Other comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We are on to number 14. Someone want to read that one?
Sure. I make a motion to amend contract 2P21-031B with D'Amato Downs Joint Venture in the amount of $167,636.69, and to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to execute said amendment will increase the contract value from $28,461,496 to $28,629,132.70.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Comments or questions on this one?
I think we had some, through the chair, if I
Yep.
could, we had some informational, additional information on this. How many more of these are we expected to come down to pipe as we continue construction?
Ray, can you help me on that one, just to make sure I don't lead them astray?
So contract amendments, are associated with, field conditions and to a certain extent, even changes in the plans. So at this, point, certainly there's a couple items that we're, working on that would potentially, result in additional contract amendments. But, in general, it's a $28 million contract. There's approximately $11 million left of work, to be done. And to date, change orders have consisted of approximately 2.2%, which is, lower than, typical for a building. So I guess if you project that out from a dollar amount, we would be coming to you typically on either a monthly or bi-monthly, basis, probably running 2.2% of, 11 million, which is work remaining.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. And number 15, Sebastian, can you do that one for me?
Sure. I'd like to put forward a motion to approve a revision to the North Main Street Eastern right-of-way line across lots 6, 7, and 8, map 26, and lot 5, map 30. Said revision to the reference section of North Main Street shall relocate the existing right-of-way line 9.5 feet to the east. The revised right-of-way shall be parallel to the existing right-of-way line.
Great. Do I have a second?
Second.
And this one's directly related to the impending carrier project that will be from McDonald's to Hope Street. These are required on and off. I don't think anything too complicated here, but are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Yep. So number 16 is the city's assessor's recommendation. You can read it right off of there, Cheryl. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. The Senior Property Tax Relief Committee recommends the following actions to the Board of Finance and the City Council. 1, establish a program for senior and disabled real property tax relief under Connecticut General Statute, Section 12-129N. 2, the total program benefit pool should be approximately $650,000 or 0.0165% of the 2018 real property grand list. This equates to a mill rate impact of 0.165 mil. 3, set the income limit for the eligibility at $60,000 in order to capture more taxpayers than are currently eligible under the state program. 4, require taxpayer beneficiaries to prove that they have been a Bristol resident, excuse me, real property taxpayer for at least 5 consecutive years within the 20-year period prior to their application. 5, provide the city tax benefit regardless of marital status and make the benefit uniform at $500. And 6, protect the eligible applications with income from $0 to $50,000 by prorating benefits to applicants with income between $50,001 and $60,000 if the lower income applicants utilize a greater share of the benefit pool. Essentially, applicants with $0 to $50,000 should be a priority.
Great. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so what we're debating here is changing at high level a couple of parameters. In the past, I was just looking up the number. I think it was somewhere in the range of $87,000 has been delivered in programs like this. The budget for this has accumulated up to $600,000 and change, and we know with the reval year that Tom presented to us earlier that this is going to negatively impact some homeowners, and those homeowners maybe a little bit more proportionally. So in order to make sure that we utilize the program to its fullest extent, we would raise from $50,000 to $60,000 the income eligibility requirement and move the actual rebate from $125 to $500. So that is my high-level overview. This is something we've been working on. We're going to refer this to the Board of Finance to make sure that we do have the appropriation of the money and then appropriate it. And I think it's one of those steps that we can do this year to help. The other thing that is part of this that could change is the enrollment period. Typically, we do February 1st to, I want to say it's March 30th, but actually the recommendation is to do it all the way through to February 1st, 2024. So people will be able to apply even as they get ready to pay their second payment. Comments or questions from this group here?
To the chair.
Are
How is
you
that?
on? I don't think I can hear you.
It's,
Or
yeah,
talk
it's
right
on.
into it then.
Sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
Here, I'll speak
There
louder.
we go.
How is that refund actually, is it taken off the tax itself? How is that done?
I believe it's a direct refund, correct? Yes, direct refund to them. They need to apply and document their salary. Diane's going to probably come up and maybe add more detail to this, but they do that through the assessor's office. And once everything is verified, then it's there. Oh, I didn't see Tom hiding behind the
It's
podium.
actually a credit off the tax.
Oh,
So
so I
once
was
they
wrong.
apply, their tax bill would be reduced to the $500.
Which is a good reason
Right.
why we would extend it so that on the second payment, they could take advantage of it, because it had ended before that. Thank you for that
Thank you,
clarification.
Diane.
Didn't get that far, because we're not giving people their money back yet, but that's good. And Cheryl, I know you had some questions and concerns, legitimate.
My questions I had forwarded to Corp Counsel, and it's not so much with the meat on the bones here of the plan, it was just really in the application process and how we verify that the people who are applying do qualify, and how we ascertain that, you know, maybe they send in their SSA 1099 for Social Security, but we don't know they have a pension, and how we make sure these funds are hitting the target audience we truly want to help. And so my concerns that I sent to Tom basically were, well, what do they have to submit? And then once they submit that, how do we verify that they have reported all their income? And so those are some of the questions I have. They don't necessarily impact what we're voting on tonight, but when we do the application, it would be good to have these questions answered so that, one, we can tell people what they do need to supply so they have it ready, and two, that we've done a verification to make sure that, you know, we're actually helping those who have the need.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Appreciate the comment. Susan?
And through the mayor, just to add on to that, my concern always is any kind of fraud that could be, kind of put onto this. And would there also be some sort of check and balance system and verification that the person who is a senior, whose name is on the house, because they own the house, isn't really in a convalescent home and they have, younger family members living in the house? Would that credit still apply? Do people have to actually be living in the home? Or I just don't want to see that, this may only be $500 credit, but I don't want to see this turn into any kind of fraudulent situation.
Tom, go ahead and.
So that Connecticut General Statute 12-129N, it also references 12-170AA. And what the committee back in 2019 recommended followed the standards, excuse me, of the state program. So this isn't brand new to the system per se. The staff have been implementing these programs for multiple years. To both of your points, we do get that rare occasion where things just don't look like they're in alignment. And we can go back to the applicant and say, there's a free service at the senior center. We really believe that you should have your tax return prepared and officially give us a tax return so that we can vet out maybe other sources of income, things that an accountant would take a purview over that maybe we don't. On the residency requirement, that is a very difficult parameter to make sure that the person isn't in a nursing home. But generally, we talk to the siblings, we talk to the applicant within the process, and you have to be crafty, unfortunately, but it does get filtered through sometimes just on a simple conversation. So, it's very easy to make a determination when somebody is not able to live on their own. You obviously have to read into the situation, and it is on a case-by-case basis. But we do get your concerns.
Could that also be a requirement on the application?
Oh, it already is.
You have to be living
Yes,
in the home?
as of December 31st, you have to be a resident of the property that you're applying for.
And
Correct.
is there a penalty if you are no longer the resident and your child
No, you
is living
simply
there?
don't get the benefit. And there's ways that we can retract.
Thank you.
You have to be current on your taxes. There's lots of parameters. I think the good point you made that I didn't is this is an ongoing existing program that has been utilized, not to its fullest extent, and we're just trying to make sure that this year of all years that it's more heavily utilized to help those seniors that might face an inevitable tax increase due to the reval.
Well, through the chair, I think you'll have a lot more people come forward.
You will.
$500 is definitely
Bless you.
much more attractive than $125. So I expect to see, a huge increase in applicants.
Great. And that's why we're going to send it back to the Board of Finance to make sure that we have the money to pay for it. All right. Any other questions? Andrew, anything for you? I don't want to. You good?
I just curious, Tom, have we ever seen fraudulent activities through this program?
The worst situation that we've ever come across is when we actually have the applicant admit that they're in a nursing home and, they want to send, their daughter or spouse to come in and actually apply for the program and what type of information do they need. In many, many cases, the applicant is extremely honest with the staff. So we haven't really been able to pick out anybody in general that has been abusive to the system.
Thanks, Tom.
Great. Any other comments or questions? I think we are ready to vote then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are on to number 17, correct? Yes, number 17, and I'll read this one. To approve the submission of an application of up to $320,000 with a city match of $80,000 for a deep recreational trail grant to design and engineer a pedestrian bicycle trail from Rockwell Park all the way to Route 229, and to authorize the mayor to execute any and all documents associated with the application and refer the matter to the Board of Finance for any necessary action. Can I have a motion?
Second.
It's fine, I can do the motion, you do the second. It's perfect. The one on this that I just want to talk about a little bit is this is a plan that was probably in place many years ago. There's been some thought to bring this trail specifically from Rockwell Park down to the boulevard where we have a beautiful bike lane now, and then continue it on. This deep grant is available once a year. I will admit that we're maybe putting the cart before the horse a little bit because we don't have the grant money, our match to the grant money, the 20% figured out yet. But we were approached by NVCOG that started this work, and because of all the great activity that's happening in and around downtown, we want to move this forward. So we will have to go back and come up with a very small part of the grant, and we will be working on that. But I do think this one is worthwhile with the Route 7269 intersection being cleaned up and changed. So we have a very good opportunity here, and that's the background behind it, and one of the reasons that it's coming to us a little bit quicker than we would have expected. What questions do we have? We do have Dr. Ledger here too, so if we have any questions, we can bring her up here. She's been patient and waited the whole way, so I got to at least call her out.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Andrew.
In here it says to authorize the mayor. Would that get nitpicked if it doesn't say or acting mayor?
Legal? No, that's fine.
Okay.
Shaking heads from Corp Counsel. We're good, Andrew. Good question.
Just wanted to check.
Cheryl's hand's not going to get sore from signing there.
Thank you.
What other questions or comments do we have? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right, number 18, last one. Sebastian, you want to get that one for me?
To place on file, motion to place on file the positive referrals from the Bristol Planning Commission for the acquisition of the following properties pursuant to CGS 8-24. Do you want me to read these individually here?
Yeah, go ahead, just for the record.
A, map 43, lot 98-1, Frederick Street. B, map 43, lot 96, Twining Street. C, map 40, lot 3, Broad Street. D, map 58, lot 9, Hart Street.
Great, can I have a second?
Second.
And anything you want to add?
So these four properties, just, they're in the real estate committee right now, and we did refer them over for an 8-24. So all four of these properties, the Planning Commission has sent us and are asking us to accept their positive referrals from the Planning Commission. This will be further taken up in next week's real estate meeting.
All righty. Cheryl?
Just to clarify, this doesn't mean we're necessarily acquiring the properties. It's
Right.
just saying that planning says, hey, we're okay, that you take action further on this. So even if we vote on all of these, it doesn't mean we're accepting purchasing them all.
Yep.
Okay, I just,
And the purchase price of these properties is?
oh, well, one, for the first three, we feel may be a donation.
Correct.
But item D is not.
So we'll have to look at that.
So this motion is to just accept the
All of them.
Planning.
positive
Right.
referrals made to City Council from the Planning Commission.
Great. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And then I was mistaken, we do have one more, and I'll let you do that one, Sue.
So 19 is to, I make a motion to file the negative referral from the Bristol Planning Commission for another piece of property that was sent to them for an 824. This is map 18, lot 63, Belmont Street.
Second.
Any further comments on that one, Sue? Just negative, we're not interested. Got it.
But it's available for somebody who wants to buy and build a house, maybe.
Oh, that's good, yeah. All those, any other comments, Sue? It looked like you were going to say something. you're good?
No,
Oh.
right, it's just a negative referral from planning, so it's going to go back to real estate, and real estate committee may or may not still pursue this property.
Gotcha. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right, motion carries. I do have to ask for everybody here, we will talk about going into executive session, but I think we need to give a round of applause to Hunter, who made it through some palate reading. Way past bedtime, probably, but I hope you didn't have homework, Hunter, so thank you very much for coming. What'd you think? Good, he said it was good. All right, so we're going to go into executive session, and, wait, hang on, Ted, before we do the motion, who's coming in with us? Ted, council, anybody else besides council? And the corp council? I'm going to send you a session roll. Okay, yeah. All right.
Mr. Mayor, I'm assuming I'm done for the evening, or do I need to call into that end as well?
We'll have a quorum, so we'll be okay without Andrew. Okay, very good. You're fine, Andrew. It won't work well. So I need a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're going to executive session. All right, I just need a motion to come out of executive session, and a reminder, there were no votes taken in executive session.
Motion to, second.
So Sue had the motion, Sebastian had the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So we're out of executive session, and we took no action and plan to take no action moving forward. I don't think there's any other business to come before us.
Motion to adjourn?
Sounds good? Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.